Look, I need you to pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you, because this could change everything about how you see yourself in the dating world. Right now, there are women around you, women you interact with regularly, who are secretly evaluating you, not just as someone they might hook up with or have fun with, but as someone they could actually build a life with. And here's the part that's going to blow your mind. While other guys are out here trying to be the bad boy or the player, thinking that's what attracts women, you're naturally displaying the exact qualities that make women want to delete their dating apps and introduce you to their parents. The difference between a guy women have fun with and a guy women actually want to be with long term is massive. Most men never figure this out. They think attraction is just about being exciting or mysterious, but that only gets you so far. What really makes women fall hard, what makes them start planning a future with you in their heads, is something completely different. You see, women are constantly scanning for relationship potential. They can't help it. Even in casual interactions, they're subconsciously asking themselves, is this someone I could see myself with? And if you're displaying these 7 signs, that answer is a resounding yes. But here's the crazy part. You're probably doing these things naturally without even realizing how powerful they are. You might think you're just being yourself, but what you're actually doing is triggering every single one of her long-term partner sensors. You're making her think about what your kids would look like, how you'd handle stress together, whether you'd still be sweet to her in 10 years. So let me ask you this. How many of these signs do you recognize in yourself? Because if even 4 or 5 of these sound like you, I guarantee there are women in your life right now who are secretly hoping you'll make things official. So listen carefully, because you are going to know the 7 key traits. Sign number 1, you actually listen when she talks and remember what she says. This first one sounds simple, but it's absolutely massive, and most guys fail at it completely. When women talk to you, you don't just wait for your turn to speak. You're actually absorbing what they're saying, asking follow-up questions. And here's the kicker, you remember those conversations days or weeks later. You know what most guys do? They half listen while thinking about what they want to say next. Or worse, they're completely distracted by their phone or what's happening around them. But you make women feel like they're the most interesting person in the room when they're talking to you. Here's what's really happening in her mind when you do this. She's thinking, finally, a man who actually cares about what I have to say. She's realizing that conversations with you feel different than conversations with other men. There's depth, there's connection, there's genuine interest, and that feeling is addictive. But it goes deeper than just listening in the moment. You remember that she mentioned her sister's wedding next month. You ask how her job interview went 3 days after she told you about it. You bring up that book she recommended and tell her you actually started reading it. These might seem like small things to you, but to her they're huge green flags. Women are constantly dealing with men who don't really see them or care about their inner world. So when you show up as someone who genuinely pays attention to who they are as a person, not just what they look like, you immediately separate yourself from 90% of the guys they've ever dated. She starts thinking, he actually cares about my thoughts, my feelings, my life. What would it be like to be with someone who always made me feel this heard and understood? And just like that, you've gone from someone she's attracted to someone she's imagining a future with. Okay, let's move on. Trait number 2, you handle stress and problems like a man, not a boy. Here's something women pay incredibly close attention to, even if they don't realize they're doing it. How you handle pressure, stress, and unexpected problems. Do you lose your cool? Do you blame everyone else? Do you shut down or lash out? Or do you stay calm, think through solutions, and handle business like a grown man? Women are evolutionarily wired to notice this because they're subconsciously evaluating whether you'd be a reliable partner when life gets difficult. And life always gets difficult. They want to know, when the going gets tough, are you someone they can count on? Or are you someone who's going to make everything worse? You probably don't even realize you're being evaluated on this. But every time something goes wrong and you handle it with grace, you're earning major relationship points. When your flight gets canceled and you calmly find alternative arrangements instead of having a meltdown, she notices. When work gets stressful and you deal with it professionally instead of bringing that energy home, she notices. When unexpected expenses come up and you handle it responsibly instead of panicking, she notices. But here's what really sets you apart. You don't just handle your own problems well, you're also the kind of person others turn to when they have problems. You're the friend people call when they need advice. You're the one family members rely on during difficult times. Women see this and think, this is a man I could depend on. She starts imagining what it would be like to face life's challenges with you as her partner. She pictures you handling everything from minor inconveniences to major life events with the same steady, reliable energy. And that feeling of security, knowing that she'd have a true partner in life's ups and downs, is incredibly attractive. This quality tells her that you're not just fun to be around when things are easy, you're someone she could actually build a life with because you can handle whatever comes your way. Alright, let's break down the next one. Trait number 3, you treat everyone with respect, especially people who can't do anything for you. This one is huge, and women are watching for it more closely than you might think. How do you treat the waiter when your order is wrong? How do you interact with the cashier at the grocery store? How do you speak to people who are having a bad day or who might not be in a position to help you with anything? Women pay attention to this because it reveals your true character. Anyone can be charming to someone they're trying to impress or someone who has something they want. But how you treat people when there's nothing in it for you, that shows her who you really are as a person. You're the kind of man who's patient with the elderly person taking forever at the checkout line. You're polite to the customer service representative even when they can't solve your problem. You tip well and say thank you. You hold doors, let people merge in traffic, and generally move through the world with basic human decency. Here's what's going through her mind when she observes this. If he treats strangers with this much respect and kindness, imagine how he treats someone he actually loves. She's picturing how you'd treat her during difficult times, how you'd interact with her family, how you'd be as a father to potential future children. Women have been with men who were sweet to them but rude to everyone else, and they know that kind of selective kindness doesn't last. Eventually that rudeness gets turned on them too, but when you're consistently respectful to everyone, it signals that your character is solid all the way through. She starts thinking about introducing you to her friends and family, confident that you'll make a good impression, not because you're putting on an act, but because you're genuinely a good person. She imagines what it would be like to go through life with someone she never has to be embarrassed by, someone who makes her proud to be associated with him. This quality makes her feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally and socially. She knows that being with you would elevate her life rather than complicate it. Oh, so basically it's about stability. Let's talk about sign number 4. You have your life together and you're still working to improve it. Let me be clear about what this doesn't mean. You don't need to be perfect, wealthy, or have everything figured out. What you do need is to be actively managing your life like a responsible adult. You pay your bills on time. Your living space is clean and organized. You take care of your health and appearance. You have goals you're working toward. You're not just coasting through life hoping things will magically get better, you're actively making them better. But here's the key part that makes your relationship material. You're doing all of this for yourself, not to impress anyone else. Women can tell the difference between a man who has his act together because he's genuinely responsible versus a guy who's just trying to look good for dating purposes. You're not perfect and you don't pretend to be. You acknowledge areas where you want to improve and you're actually taking steps to improve them. Maybe you're working on getting in better shape. Maybe you're learning new skills for your career. Maybe you're working on being more emotionally intelligent. The point is, you're growing. Women find this incredibly attractive because it tells them several important things. First, you're not going to be a project that needs fixing. Second, you're self-motivated to improve, which means you won't become complacent in a relationship. Third, you're the kind of person who solves problems rather than just complaining about them. She starts imagining what it would be like to build a life with someone who's already stable but still growing. She pictures the two of you supporting each other's goals, creating a home together, maybe raising children who would have a father who leads by example. This quality makes her feel like she could relax into a relationship with you. Instead of constantly worrying about whether you're going to get your act together, she can focus on the fun parts of building a life together instead of the stressful parts of trying to fix someone. This one is crucial. Sign number 5. You're emotionally available and communicate like an adult. This is where most men completely fail. So if you're good at this, you're already in the top 10%. You can talk about feelings without getting weird about it. You can express your needs clearly. You can handle conflict like a mature adult rather than shutting down or exploding. When something's bothering you, you don't expect her to read your mind. You use your words. When you're happy about something, you express it. When you're concerned about something in the relationship, you bring it up calmly and work through it together rather than letting it build up into resentment. You're not one of those guys who thinks talking about emotions makes you weak. You understand that emotional intelligence is actually a strength, and you've developed it. You can validate her feelings even when you don't fully understand them. You can apologize sincerely when you make mistakes. You can have difficult conversations without them turning into fights. Here's what this does for her. It makes her feel emotionally safe with you. She knows that if issues come up in the relationship, you'll work through them together. Rather than avoiding them or making them worse, she doesn't have to walk on eggshells or try to manage your emotions for you. Women have been with men who shut down every time things got emotional, or who turned every disagreement into a battle. So when you show up as someone who can actually communicate like a functioning adult, it's like finding water in the desert. She starts imagining what it would be like to go through life with a true partner, and someone she can talk to about anything, someone who will work with her to solve problems rather than creating more problems. This level of emotional maturity makes her think about the long term because she knows the relationship could actually last. And that leads to number 6. You show consistency between your words and actions. This one might be the most important of all because trust is the foundation of any real relationship. You do what you say you're going to do. When you make plans, you keep them. When you make promises, you follow through. When you say you care about someone, your actions back it up. You're not one of those guys who's all talk. You don't make grand gestures to distract from the fact that you can't handle basic reliability. You show up when you say you will. You call when you say you'll call. If you can't do something, you communicate that clearly rather than just disappearing or making excuses. This consistency extends to how you treat her. You're not hot and cold. You don't shower her with attention one week and then act distant the next. Your interest level is steady and reliable. She doesn't have to constantly wonder where she stands with you because your actions make it clear. Women have dealt with so many men who say all the right things but don't follow through, that when they meet a man whose actions match his words, it's incredibly refreshing. She doesn't have to play detective trying to figure out what you really mean. Here's what happens in her mind. She realizes she can actually relax and trust you. She doesn't have to keep her guard up, waiting for you to disappoint her. She can invest emotionally because she knows you're reliable. She starts thinking about making plans with you, not just next weekend, but months from now. This consistency makes her feel secure enough to be vulnerable with you. She knows that if she opens her heart to you, you're not going to suddenly change or disappear. That security is what allows real love to develop. Finally, the seventh sign. This is a powerful one. You make her feel like the best version of herself. This last sign is what separates good relationship material from great relationship material. When women are around you, they feel inspired to be better. Not because you're judging them or trying to change them, but because your energy brings out their best qualities. You encourage her goals and dreams. You celebrate her successes without feeling threatened. You support her during challenges without trying to fix everything for her. You see her potential and reflect it back to her in a way that makes her believe in herself more. But here's the key. You do this by being the best version of yourself, not by trying to manage or improve her. Your own growth and positivity naturally inspire others to grow. Your way of handling life makes people around you want to handle their lives better too. When she's with you, she feels smarter, funnier, more confident, more attractive, not because you're constantly complimenting her, but because you create an environment where her best self naturally emerges. You make her feel like she could accomplish anything. Women remember how you make them feel, and if you make them feel like their most amazing self, that's incredibly powerful. She starts associating you with feeling good about herself and her life. Being around you becomes addictive because it's where she feels most like the person she wants to be. She imagines what it would be like to go through life with someone who brings out her best rather than her worst. She pictures growing old with someone who would continue to inspire and challenge her to be amazing. That vision of partnership, two people making each other better, is exactly what makes someone relationship material. So what this really means, the psychology behind it. If you're recognizing yourself in most of these signs, you need to understand what a rare position you're in. Most men spend their entire lives trying to figure out what women want. Meanwhile, you're over here naturally embodying these qualities, which means women see you as someone they could actually build a future with. But here's what you might not realize. These same qualities that make you relationship material can sometimes work against you in the early stages of dating. Women might be more nervous around you because they sense you're not just a casual fling. They might take things slower because they know you're worth taking seriously. Don't mistake this for a lack of interest. When a woman sees real relationship potential in you, she's often more careful about how she approaches things. She doesn't want to mess it up by moving too fast or playing games. She's thinking long term from the beginning. This is why you might sometimes feel like women put you in the good guys category, while they date other guys who are more exciting but less reliable. But here's the thing, those exciting guys rarely last. You're the one they end up with when they're ready for something real. Understanding that you're relationship material should change how you approach dating entirely. You don't need to try to be someone else or adopt strategies that don't fit your personality. Your authentic self is exactly what the right woman is looking for. Don't downplay these qualities or think they make you boring. In a world full of men who can't communicate, don't follow through, and aren't emotionally available, being relationship material makes you incredibly valuable. You're not just someone to have fun with, you're someone to build a life with. The right woman, the one who's ready for something real, will recognize your value immediately. She'll appreciate your consistency, your emotional maturity, your reliability. She'll see these qualities as the rare gifts they are. Keep being yourself, keep developing these qualities, and be patient. The woman who's meant for you will recognize what she's found in you. And when she does, you'll understand why all those casual relationships didn't work out. They were just preparing you for something much better. Remember, being relationship material isn't about being perfect. It's about being ready to be a true partner, ready to build something meaningful, ready to love someone well. If that's who you are, own it. The right person is looking for exactly what you have to offer. I hope these signs have been insightful. If you have any questions about this topic or any other relationship questions, please ask them in the comments below. I read all of them and I might just make a future video to answer your question. If you found this video valuable, please give it a like to let me know. And make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video.